Welcome to the Visual COBOL in a Nutshell series of presentations. This module covers the basic source code editing features available in Micro Focus Visual COBOL for Eclipse. During the course of this video, I'll dive right into settings and features associated with the editor. If this is your first exposure to the Eclipse environment, it may be helpful to first view the video Visual COBOL in a Nutshell, Introduction to Visual COBOL for Eclipse. That video provides background and concepts about the overall Visual COBOL for Eclipse user interface that you may find helpful while watching this video. The Visual COBOL source code editor is an essential part of the overall integrated development environment of Visual COBOL for Eclipse. Editor windows are used to view, modify, and debug your source programs, whether they are procedural or COBOL JVM classes. Visual COBOL for Eclipse provides different editors for working with different types of files. The most important of these is the COBOL-aware Visual COBOL source code editor, which includes many features that are specific to working with COBOL. When you edit a COBOL program or copybook, this editor is used. In contrast, when you edit a text file, a more generic editor is used for that task. Throughout the remainder of this video, and in the product and documentation, the Visual COBOL source code editor is simply called the COBOL Editor. There are several configurable options for the COBOL Editor, which govern the look and feel of the editing experience. Some are related to the appearance of the editor, including colorization of displayed code and the fonts and background colors used in the editor. Others are behavioral related options, including those controlling features such as code wrapping, indentation, COBOL Smart Edit Mode, background syntax checking, code folding, and code assist. Finally, under miscellaneous options, we'll take a look at how to configure the editor for non-standard file extensions your organization may use for COBOL source code. Before we get started exploring these options, it's helpful to bear in mind that there are two levels of options at work here. Some options are general options that affect all editors you may use within Eclipse. Other options are specifically related to features of the COBOL editor. All of these options can be accessed under the high-level menu selection Window Preferences of the Eclipse IDE. Let's take a closer look at these options. To change the configurable options of the COBOL editor, I can go to Window Preferences. Choose the triangle next to Micro Focus, then COBOL, and then Editor. This is the section of preferences that controls the features of the COBOL editor. If you already have a COBOL editor view open in Eclipse, a shortcut to get to these preferences is to right-click anywhere within the COBOL editor view and choose Preferences. This displays a subset of the same options we saw under Window Preferences, filtered to only show those options related to the COBOL editor. As I discuss the options for the editor, I will demonstrate the effects of these options on your experience in the editor. I'll be going back into the Preferences dialog a lot, so you'll get a good sense of how easy it is to access these options. First, let's focus on features that affect the appearance of the editor. To control the color and decoration of the fonts used to display COBOL syntax, choose Syntax Coloring. The Syntax Coloring dialog shows a helpful preview of the currently selected colorization options. The COBOL editor displays COBOL syntax elements with different font colors and decorations such as underline, bold, and so forth. For example, the default color for COBOL keywords is purple, while comments are in green, and names you have defined in your program, such as variable names or paragraph names, are black. Unused variables also appear in black, but appear with strike-through to make them easier to spot. Notice that 3 different color schemes are provided. These correspond to the standard colorization of items in Eclipse, to traditional colors you may be familiar with from earlier Micro Focus products, and to those similar to what Visual Studio uses. You can select the color scheme that you prefer and then apply the changes. You can also customize any of the syntax element colorization for the selected scheme. Notice that font and background color are not specified here. The settings for font selection and size and background color are not specific to the COBOL editor. Instead, these settings apply more broadly to all text editors used in Eclipse. Because of this, they are located with the more general Eclipse editor settings. These can be accessed under Window, Preferences, General. For font selection and size, drill down into Appearance, Colors and Fonts, Basic Text Font, Edit. For background color, drill down into Window, Preferences, General, Editors, Text Editors. Then, select Background Color from Appearance Color Options list. Click the color picker, Modify, and Apply. Also specified with these more general settings is whether line numbers are shown next to lines in the editor. Select the Show Line Numbers option. A quick shortcut for this option while using the editor is to right-click on the left margin area and then choose to enable or disable the display of line numbers. Now that we've completed our tour of the options related to appearance of the COBOL editor, let's focus on features affecting its behavior. I'll choose the shortcut to get to COBOL editor settings by right-clicking and choosing Preferences. Let's start with the typing dialog. These are options that affect the way the editor behaves as you type, use the Tab key, or delete text. Before I describe them, please note that when these options are selected, they can be temporarily disabled as a group by turning off another feature, Smart Edit Mode. Smart Edit Mode can be quickly controlled from a toolbar in the COBOL editor. The toolbar button looks like an editor window divided into 3 sections to represent that the editor is affected by the margins for the sequence number area, Area A, and Area B of a COBOL source program. The ability to toggle this setting can come in handy at times when you wish to temporarily stop the COBOL editor from reacting to these margins. With that understood, let's go back and dig into those typing settings. The option Wrap Code when Area AB end is reached affects whether the editor wraps as you pass the right margin. In traditional fixed COBOL source formatting, this would be column 72. With this option turned on, the editor will automatically wrap if you are in the middle of typing a word as you enter column 73. In this case, I'm entering the characteristics of a file on a select statement. As I type, the option wraps to the next line. If I turn the option off, my typing continues past column 72, which I usually don't want. Please note that the editor will not wrap if you type a space in column 73, only if you type a character and are in the middle of typing some string of non-space characters. Also, you still have the ability to enter text after column 72. You just need to use spaces to cross the boundary between 72 and 73. The next option, wrapping moves the text in the right-hand area to the new line, affects whether text that already exists beyond column 72, such as the comment text I just entered, is affected when you cross into column 73 while typing. When this option is turned on, the comment on the current line is moved down to the next line along with the wrapped text. When off, the comment stays where it is. The third option, wrap lines when deleting forwards and backwards, controls whether the editor is smart about handling extra spaces during deletions that would unwrap a line. When this is turned on, pressing delete at the end of the line brings the first keyword of the following line right up next to the deletion point. I'll undo the change with Ctrl-Z, and then we can try the same change with this option turned off. In this case, pressing delete brings not just the first keyword from the following line, but all of the spaces that precede that first keyword. The first indentation option, Enter key and Smart Wrapping adjust the indentation on the new line, controls whether, when you press Enter to jump to a new line, the cursor automatically indents to the same column as the current line. This is usually the behavior you want when you are entering COBOL data items in working storage, for example. I'll press the Enter key after entry of a 05 level item, and my cursor is indented to the same position on the following line, just as I'd want. If this option is turned off, the cursor jumps to the first column of the current area. Finally, the option Tab, Shift-Tab keys adjust the indentation based on the area margins, affects whether, when using Tab or Shift-Tab to increase or decrease indentation on a line, the movement of the line is affected by the area margins. Once again, these options can be momentarily disabled as a group by turning off Smart Edit mode. I've shown you how this can be done with the button on the toolbar, but Smart Edit mode can also be controlled from the Preferences in the Editor dialog. In the Editor Preference dialog, you can control whether the editor automatically parses and syntax checks your code as you type, whether the margins displayed in the editor are controlled by the source format compiler directive. To demonstrate this, I'll add a line with a set statement, which is one of the ways to specify a compiler directive. By specifying the directive source format free, all margins are removed. By specifying source format variable, the margin in column 72 is moved out to column 250. Continuing in the Editor Preferences dialog, I can control whether a horizontal ruler is displayed in the editor, which helpfully shows the locations of areas A and B. I can also change the color of the vertical lines displayed in the editor to show the locations of the COBOL margins, how many columns pressing the Tab key moves the cursor, whether spaces or tab characters are inserted when Tab is pressed, and whether all text entered in the editor is forced to uppercase regardless of the setting of the caps lock key. Under Smart Caret, the first option controls whether, when you press Tab while in the sequence number area, the cursor jumps to area A, normally column 8, or if the option is turned off, jumps by whatever width is specified as the tab width. Since the option is turned on, I expect my caret to jump to column 8 when I press the Tab key. But in this case, it doesn't. Can you spot why? The reason is that this option causes a jump to the beginning of area A, and since my source format is set to free, there is no defined area A. As soon as I change the source format back to fixed, which is the default, this option works as expected. The next option makes the home and end keys smarter about where you're likely to want to go when you press these keys while editing COBOL source. For an example of this, let's first turn this option off. And then consider the following line of source code. Pressing Home takes me first to the beginning of text on the line, and then all the way to column 1. This is rarely what I want. Similarly, pressing End takes me all the way to the end of the comment, when more often I want to add to the end of the text inside area B. Now, let's turn our smarter home end key behavior on. After doing this, pressing Home takes me first to the beginning of the text on the line, and then to the beginning of area A. And pressing End no longer takes me all the way to the end of the comment, but instead first to the end of the text in area B. Again, this is more often what I want. The last option on the Editor Preferences dialog allows you to choose the background color used when the editor is displaying read-only content. The COBOL Editor supports folding or collapsing regions of code. Divisions of the COBOL program, sections, and procedures or paragraphs can be collapsed to allow you to focus on other areas of the program. Back in the Preferences for the COBOL Editor, the Folding dialog allows you to select certain portions of code that you want automatically collapsed when a program is first opened. For our last COBOL Editor specific preferences dialog, templates allow you to view or extend the statement templates provided with Visual COBOL for Eclipse. These templates are available as part of the Content Assist feature that you can use while typing in the editor and are accessed by pressing Control Space. You can insert a predefined syntax blocks into your program and then modify it for the current situation. For example, if I type if and then press Control Space, I can choose the if-else block from the list by double-clicking on it. A template if-else structure is inserted into the program, ready for me to revise as needed. Once again, you can also modify and extend the provided templates, allowing you to define templates for blocks of code you may frequently type. Now, let's talk about COBOL source file types. As I mentioned before, the COBOL Editor is used when working with known COBOL source files, including COBOL copybooks. When you open a file in Visual COBOL for Eclipse by double-clicking on it, the IDE chooses the default editor to use by looking at the extension on the file. Here is a list of the file extensions recognized by default. Now let's imagine that my project contains a file that is a COBOL source file, but the extension on this file is not one of the standard extensions such as CBL or PCO, but rather CSX. This file will not be recognized by Visual COBOL for Eclipse, so it will not be grouped with the other COBOL programs in the COBOL Explorer view. And it will not open in the COBOL Editor by default. You can add to the list of file extensions recognized as a COBOL program by going into Eclipse Preferences for Content Types. Since Content Types is a broader feature of Eclipse and not specifically a COBOL Editor setting, we can't take our shortcut to get to Preferences. We'll have to go to Windows Preferences and drill our way down. We'll go to General, Content Types, Text, Micro Focus Project Types, COBOL Program. I'll add my CSX extension to the list, making sure to specify *dot and then my extension. Doing this will have two effects. First, in the COBOL Explorer, files with this extension will now be automatically shown along with other COBOL programs in the Virtual COBOL Programs folder. And second, files with this extension will automatically be opened with the COBOL Editor. Similarly, files which contain COBOL copybooks but have non-standard extensions will not be recognized by Visual COBOL for Eclipse. These files will not be grouped with other copybooks in the COBOL Explorer. When you add a new extension to those defined as COBOL copybooks, an extra feature is provided. In addition to getting those files to show in the copybooks folder and open in the correct editor, the COBOL compiler will automatically be advised that the new extension is used for COBOL copybooks. The default value used in Visual COBOL for Eclipse for the compiler directive copyext is expanded to include the new extension. This allows the compiler to locate copy files with this extension, even when the program does not explicitly specify the extension on the copy statement. If you notice this copy statement, even though the file exists on disk as custrec.ccb, the compiler is able to find it because I've added .ccb to the list of defined copybook extensions. Now that we've explored many of the configuration options related to the COBOL Editor, let's examine some of the features of the editor. Some of these features we've seen while exploring configuration options. These include background parsing provides immediate feedback on errors in your source code as you type. COBOL Smart Edit mode causes the editor to obey COBOL source areas A and B editing rules when pressing Enter or inserting or deleting text. Home and End keys can be configured to recognize COBOL source areas when navigating on a line. Content Assist provides predefined, customizable code snippets which can be easily inserted into your source program. Folding automatically divides COBOL programs into collapsible regions. There are a number of additional COBOL Editor features available to make your editing experience more productive. Among these features are context-sensitive help is available through the Dynamic Help feature. Block Copy Paste allows you to select text using specific column regions instead of lines. Another feature is the ability to comment or uncomment a group of lines all at once. Multiple editor windows can be viewed side by side or stacked, allowing view of different files or multiple views of the same source code. The COBOL Outline view gives you a navigable outline of your COBOL program, allowing you to quickly jump to an area of interest. Let's take a look at these additional features in action. While you are editing your COBOL code, the editor can provide context-sensitive help. To use this feature, select Help, Dynamic Help from the Eclipse menu. While this is on, any keyword you click on brings up a link for help for that keyword. Notice the Dynamic Help feature also displays a link to documentation about features of the COBOL Editor. Block Copy and Paste are supported in the COBOL Editor via block selection mode. Normally, mouse selections act on full lines. By enabling block selection mode, the mouse now selects a rectangular block of text which can be copied and pasted to a new location. You can quickly activate block selection mode by using this button on the toolbar. Let's take a quick look at doing block copy and paste. Let's say I'd like to display these variables in my program. I can add display statements for the variables, then click on the block selection button on the toolbar. Copy the three variables all at once, right-click and choose Copy, and then finally paste the three variables all at once next to the display statements. Block selection mode is also useful for commenting or uncommenting several lines of code at once. To do so, draw a rectangle including only column 7 for the affected lines. Then press the asterisk key. All the affected lines will have an asterisk inserted in column 7. Similarly, if a space key is pressed with the same selection, all the selected lines will have the comment character removed. The editor also supports views of multiple editor windows, allowing side-by-side views of different files or of the same file in different locations. To position two open editor views side by side, first, you may wish to maximize the editor view in Eclipse to provide more room. You can quickly do this by double-clicking on the tab for the editor view. Another double-click on the header restores the view to its former size. Drag the tab of one of the views down into the right margin. When you see the arrow, release the mouse button. To view different locations in the same source file in a stacked view, from the menu, select Window, New Editor. Drag the tab down to the bottom margin, see the arrow, and release. Notice the changes I make in one view are reflected in the other view. When you're ready to close the second view, click the X on its tab or header. Because Eclipse knows you have this same file open in another view, you receive a special prompt asking if you wish to save, but letting you know that you don't have to. The COBOL Editor also provides the feature of allowing you to view copybooks inline in your source code. To use this feature, while viewing source, press F4 to view the source in a separate read-only view. Notice this view reflects the effect of any copy replacing statements. The COBOL Editor also comes with an associated view named the COBOL Outline. This view shows an outline of the COBOL program. The outline view is synchronized with the COBOL Editor so that when you click on an item in the outline, the editor is positioned to that item or location in the source code. This can help you quickly navigate around a large COBOL program. This video has been an overview of the basic features of the Micro Focus COBOL Editor. Please stay tuned for future videos which will explore Visual COBOL for Eclipse in more detail. Thanks for watching.